Thank you for checking out Morgan James with me, Riz, known as the Rizzler. Now check it out. This songstress is hitting hard with hot, bold, and bodacious pipes. I just had the pleasure of hearing the soulful sounds of Miss James singing Call My Name right here at my favorite class act, Jazz Club in Charlotte, North Carolina, owned and operated by the world-class Larry Farber. Larry and I go way back. That's right, Larry Farber. Larry has supported my bass and saxophone band, Nothing Basic, for years now. Larry is legend. Today, we are proud to be part of the rBeatz radio and media streaming network. You can catch me at Middle C Jazz Club celebrating some of my great friends. Adrian Crutchfield, Thursday, October 9th, John Splithoff, Wednesday, October 29th, Larry Braggs, Friday, October 3rd, Grammy-nominated jazz fusion saxophonist, Marcus Anderson, October 25th. Get your tickets now at eventticketcenter.com. Now check out Morgan James, tearing it up on the mic in the rBeatz VIP suite.
I'ma have to pass like Nash to Amari. Tiger up early on a Sunday, sinking birdies while the pigskin spinning through the air, tight and birdie. It's a TD, it's a TKO, a home run, it's a hat trick. Ain't no way to be an all-star without practice. So if you down to sacrifice your life for a draft pick, it's a pretty sweet position you can live in if you have some things in the air. If you got game, wiggle like you just don't care. If you got game, playing like you got no fit, and you got game. If you came here to win, yeah, you got game.
Welcome to rBeatz Studio. Welcome back, guys. And today, I'm your host, as always, Terry Hudson, author, speaker, music industry coach, and host of the show here in the rBeatz Studio. And we have a special show today because we talk about being relentless as an artist a lot, because you can have great talent, and if you don't ask those second questions and have the extra effort to get in, then a lot of times your stuff just sits, and I don't want to see that happen for anybody. I have the absolute perfect guest today. She is a singer, songwriter, actress, producer. They call her stellar vocalist, but she's a vocal phenom. She goes from sultry to soul-stirring vocals, and she's absolutely relentless in her pursuit. Will you welcome to the show? And I'm going to welcome you to the show, Morgan James. So great to have you on. Hi there.
Oh my gosh, what a great intro. I need that recorded to play before all of my shows.
My voiceovers. Take voiceover lessons from you. So, and great background, by the way. Love your background. And
well, this is this is a real background. This is my office, yes.
Yeah, and I know that someone in your house plays guitar, but do you play guitar also?
You know, I don't play guitar. Funny story, during the pandemic, I got a Fender endorsement because Fender saw a couple videos of me trying to learn to play guitar, and they thought it was really cute. And they thought I would be a great ambassador for people learning to play guitar. So they sent me a beautiful guitar, and I did a few posts for Fender. But it turns out learning to play guitar in your adult life is extremely difficult. So I'm going to leave it to the professional in my home.
Yeah, he's phenomenal himself. We'll hopefully get to him in the show here. One of the things with I've told you that we have, as an audience, we have, of course, music fans of all types, but very astute music fans. But we also have a lot of artists that are aspiring, up and coming, and they like the backstory of how artists became who they are. I even recommend to all artists, look up a different bio every day, see the challenges that these people went in, and yours, such a great one. But one thing that I love about you that you don't see all the time, but I've seen it be effective, is having supportive parents. You actually come from, an entertainment home. Can you tell us a little more about that?
I couldn't agree more. I watch a documentary every night, practically, and I read up on every single artist that I admire, and even artists that I don't admire, because I want to know the story of how someone got to where they are. My parents, my dad was my drama teacher, my mom was a speech coach. They were both extremely artistic and very supportive of me as an artist, and helped to shape who I became. And it's really important. Right. They were worried about me going into the arts because it's a crazy business, but they were so supportive.
Yeah, and I think I've read that even your grandmother got involved and maybe paid for your vocal lessons.
My grandmother is probably the reason I'm a singer, because she loved the Great American Songbook and she loved great songs. And she really discovered my voice first and offered to pay for voice lessons, which she did until the day she died.
Well, growing up in church, my dad was a preacher, and I saw a lot of people in church supportive of the artist, that were coming up, when they were first singing. Like you don't hear how horrible you are at first, and some people kill art before it begins, and I always found them supportive, and I saw people grow from that, and I saw them grow into other fields, not just gospel, but other fields. But it was a good training ground from the beginning. But it was because of that support, not just because it was the church. It was the support, and I'm a big fan of seeing those kind of environments. And with you, and this probably instilled this in you, but let's talk about this a little bit. You achieved your bachelor's from Juilliard, and how was that experience for you, and how did it shape you?
I went to the Juilliard school and I got a classical music degree. So I got a classical voice degree. And people often ask me, well, how does that relate to what you do now? Now you make records, you sing soul music. And I use those skills every single day. It's the reason why I can maintain such an intense tour schedule, because I have this foundation of training and of technique that I take with me everywhere I go. I am constantly having to sight read on planes and learn new material literally on the way to another gig. So the sight reading and sight singing and ear training, all of that is just, it never leaves me, and I study with a teacher now. I go to my voice lesson every week, and he was at my show last night, and he is a huge part of my team and how I'm able to do what I do. So I'm a big proponent of never stopping practice and never stopping taking lessons. This instrument is living, it's constantly changing, and I'm never going to stop trying to be better at it.
Yeah, that's another thing I've been telling artists, because when we work with national artists, it's almost like fine-tuning a piano. You have to have it tuned. It gets out of shape when you're on tour, and you pick up bad habits because you're doing it every night, and you're running tired a lot of times, and after it's over, you got to get retuned, and it's
absolutely
again, it shows why you're a master, because that never stop learning thing is such a big deal. But let's go with the relentless alert, because on this, we're talking about Juilliard. You didn't just walk into Juilliard because you were phenomenal and they took you. It didn't happen that way for you at all.
No, it didn't. I was lucky enough. There are a few departments at Juilliard where you have to send a pre-screening tape. You have to even be invited to audition, and voice is one of those departments. And I was invited to audition and went through the callbacks and all of the extremely intense scrutiny you go through at the audition process. And then I received a letter that I was waitlisted. And of course, this says a lot about me, but when I got the letter, I said, well, this is wrong. This is not right. I'm supposed to be there. That's where I'm supposed to be. I just knew in my heart. So I started sending Juilliard more supplemental materials and funny things, and basically a campaign that I really, really wanted to be there, and that it was the place I was supposed to be. We'll never know whether somebody else dropped out or whether they just made an extra spot for me. We'll never know. But I got a letter several weeks later saying that I was admitted, and I knew that was the place for me. There have been several times in my life where I got an answer that I knew wasn't right, and so I fought. I am very relentless.
I heard that story. I heard this story about how that, relentlessness paid off, which was they had 6 spots, but they made a 7th for you because of that.
That's what the lore says. We'll never know the truth. We'll never know the truth.
But nobody will actually. And, of course, we only have so much time to talk here, and there's so much to cover about you. But right after you left there, you get your degree, you get out there, and you're using your degree in certain areas. But it took a few years for you to get on Broadway. But once you did, at least what I read, is your first production you were in with, like, the legend Nathan Lane.
Yeah, the very first production that I did on Broadway, I did with Nathan Lane Bebe Neuwirth, incredible all-star cast. Once I finally broke into the Broadway world, I did 5 back-to-back shows. So once you're in the community, it's a little easier to continue to get, book Broadway shows. But getting that first Broadway show was it took a long time. And, speaking to being relentless, even when I got my record deal, every single record label in New York and LA had said no to me. And, sometimes I always like to tell people, sometimes you have to knock in the same building on a different door. I knocked on a different door at Epic Records on a different day, and on that day they said yes. So different sets of circumstances. I always tell people, don't give up just because you get no the first time. You have to be resilient and be, creative with how you pursue your path.
Right, and that's the thing. If this is your dream, it's not anybody else's dream. You can't expect them to say, "Oh, let's be a part of that dream." You have to, work your way in. And it's like you're saying. One of the things that when I worked as a manager, somebody said, "So you're a shark," and I was like, "No. That's not what a manager is. Manager still wants people to win. They don't try to devour people. You're not a shark." I said, I consider myself a velociraptor because they look for the hole in the fence. So VRAP. But in that part, that's really what it is. Like you're saying, knock on that other door, look for the hole in the fence. Just because of the one no doesn't mean that there's not another way in. I've seen too many people eventually make it in just by pursuing, going around the perimeter and finding a way to do it.
Absolutely.
You're so versatile, and not just with your voice, but everything you do, acting, of course, the writing, the singing, and usually they say jack of all trades, master of none. Somehow this doesn't apply to you. You've been a master of all these things, and you've done cover albums, you've done your original stuff. You've worked on album reinterpretations or reimaginings. You've done the Beatles' White Album. You did the Nina Simone recording at, I think it was Dizzy's. And of course, you did a reimagining of Joni Mitchell. And you recorded live to analog, with what we were talking about there. But what draws you to these reimaginings versus your original material?
Well, I think they go hand in hand. I think that every artist that I've ever admired, from Aretha Franklin to Nina Simone to Jeff Buckley to Joe Cocker to Nat King Cole to Prince, covers other artists, interprets other artists, respects other artists, and wants to get inside their brain. I think it's a huge part of finding your own sound is filling your cup and your brain and your voice and your ears with as much great music as possible. So interpreting music and covering music is a long standing art form. And I think it goes part and parcel with my writing. I'm a better writer when I constantly study other great writers. I've released 5 albums of original music, and in between those albums and in between writing, I like to keep myself creative and constantly explore all these other genres of music that make me who I am, and I think that really respecting style and genre and being true to that is something I'm going to pursue forever. And it's what separates the different styles. A lot of times you hear people cover songs and they just want to put their stamp on it. And I don't feel that. I feel like it's my job to really lift up the songs that I love and that I cover. I don't want to reimagine them to be silly or to be cheeky or to have a gimmick. Right. I want to get inside these songs because they're already great. And when a song is great, you don't have to do anything to it. You just live inside of it. So I think that it really informs. I become a better writer the more great music that I sing.
Yeah, and covering Nina, especially Misunderstood. That's the one, for me.
Yes.
But, and Nina's a Carolina artist, so she's
yes, she is
here in our home base here. And my wife is a poet and a dancer, and she works at a museum. And in that museum, they have a giant, it looks like a photograph, but when you walk up on it of Nina Simone, it's made entirely of diamond dust. And
wow.
It's pretty cool. So when you're in the city again,
really cool.
I'll make sure you see that. It's really cool.
Yes, please. I would love to see that.
Yeah, it's so amazing. And with, let's see, I know another one you covered was, of course, Prince. And
yes.
Phenomenal artist. And he's, whether it's anybody that's tried to do a cover, he's a hard one to get a cover from. Obviously, he's written for a lot of other artists, and artists have used his songs. But the cover thing's a little bit different with him. And that's another relentless alert, when it comes to you and the song that you covered, which was Call My Name. So what's the story on that? How did you get, you basically got his blessing, his approval. That's not easy at all.
When he was alive, he really famously didn't like any of the covers of his music, and he never let anyone release them. And the very first song I ever arranged for my very first band was Call My Name. So that song is so special to me. And deep down, I knew that he would love it. That may sound very delusional or arrogant, but I said, I think if he heard it, he would like it. And when I got signed to Epic Records and we recorded the song and the entire label loved it, and L.A. Reid, who was the head of the label at the time, said, there's no way he'll say yes. We're not even going to try it. It's a dead end. And I said, well, can't somebody call him? And, no. So months went by, and finally L.A. Reid said, you know what? I really think Prince needs to hear this. And I was like, yeah, that's what I've been saying. And he finally called Prince and said, can I have 5 minutes of your time? 5 minutes later, Prince called him back and said, I love it. I want her to release it immediately. I wanted her to make a video. So he gave me his full blessing, and truly just one of the greatest gifts I've ever received.
Well, that's a testament not only, to his depth as an artist and, wanting his stuff represented well, but the fact that he thought you could represent it well. I mean, that's a testament to you and to how we talked about with your voice. Because you do. I mean, you go from these power sounds to these sultry, these soft sounds. I've not seen anybody that has the mastery of that like you do. I was extremely impressed. And,
thank you so much.
And in addition to your stuff, another place that shines is that you've been a frequent collaborator with Postmodern Jukebox. And how did you connect with Scott Bradley? And how did you know it was a good fit for what you were doing?
I didn't know it was going to be a good fit. My manager, David, introduced me to Scott. We had, at the time, we had the same agent. And the agents and managers all thought it would be a good fit. And when I first met with Scott, I said, I don't know. I don't want this to be a joke. I really take music seriously.
Right.
A lot of his covers are kind of tongue-in-cheek. And he said, I want this to fit you. I want you to really have a part in the arrangement. So he let me be at every arranging session and really let me be a part of making sure that the song felt like it was an arrangement that fit me. And, I ended up doing 10 videos with BMJ and 4 tours. And that's how a lot of people still find me.
Yeah, they are so well viewed. And it's a testament to him that he was a jazz pianist that was, having trouble getting noticed. He gets this idea. I don't know if it's accidental or not, but, made him like a world force. And
yes, it did.
Yeah, and it's like with you, with the players behind you, it's got that orchestra feel for Dream On, an incredible, take on that. But then I think that when we're talking about you didn't want music to be a joke, and we're talking about the versatility of your voice, everybody needs to see All About That Bass. That video and the way you come in, the person that comes in before you has kind of that trombone sound in their voice. You come in and you bring this trumpet to it, and it's just, along with the softer tones, it's just phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
I would like to ask, how much preparation went into that video? Because it's pretty coordinated without looking coordinated.
I mean, those videos are done in like 2 or 3 takes and with no rehearsal.
Wow.
Those videos are insanely thrown together very, very fast. And they're all, one camera, no edits. It's pretty amazing. But, we were on tour at the time, so we had been, the three of us ladies, Ariana, Haley, and myself, had all been singing together every night. So you have a rapport that I think that's what's captured in that video.
Oh, absolutely. You're even cinematically positioned perfectly, when it comes
right.
in. It's such a great setup. You talked about still meeting with a vocal coach, which I'm a fan of. You also, you talk about sleep and warm-ups. How has that helped you through this touring? How much of the lifeblood is that?
Oh yeah, I mean, taking care of myself is paramount because my whole body is my instrument. And when I'm touring this much and I'm on the road pretty much full time, if I go down, a lot of people don't get paid. A lot of people don't get to work. So I have a lot of people that are depending on me to make the shows happen, and I have to stay healthy. And it's hard on the road because you're constantly on a plane or a train or a bus or a car in a different hotel every night. It's hard. So consistency is key. Hydration, sleep. You have to do the best you can while you're on the road.
Yeah, and that was exactly the answer that I wanted a lot of people to see because, the aspiring artists, they see the allure of everything and they chase it a lot of times for fame or money, and it's really the art. But the thing about that is the responsibility that you have as the employer when you're taking this on the road, that, you got to show up for work. So you have to stay healthy. And the fact, that sleep is a big deal. This is not party and rock and roll all the time. This is going out and giving your audience who pays that ticket, who buys your merch, who follows you, the best, most phenomenal show that you can have. And
absolutely.
Yeah. And
I love the story about Steve Perry from Journey. And when he was on the road, in the heyday of Journey, and people would say, wow, what's it like to be a rock star? And he said, I think for the band, it's great. The band is living a rock star life. I am not. I have to go, after the show, I have to go immediately on vocal rest and go to sleep. Because if I don't get up the next day and come with those high notes, there is no show. And, I'm not Steve Perry, but I know that I have to bring a certain level. And in order to do that, I have to take care of myself.
Yeah, and your catalog is insane, too, with the notes that you're having. He's not the only one that has that. So we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, I want to talk about your experience because you recently came to Charlotte, but then I want to roll into this brand new project that you have, and so much I can say about that, and questions to ask, and everybody needs to stay tuned. Be in a minute, Morgan.
Hey everyone, if you're like me, music isn't just background noise, it's the soundtrack to our lives, pumping energy into our everyday moments and helping us feel, well, more alive. Today I'm excited to talk about something that's revolutionizing the way we experience music. rBeatz Radio. Created in 2012 by a diverse group of artists, songwriters, and musicians, rBeatz isn't your ordinary radio station. It's a universal, unique, boutique internet radio and media streaming service that's all about simplicity and inclusivity. Whether you're an artist looking to share your tunes or a listener craving new beats, rBeatz is here to amplify your experience. Now picture this. You're grabbing a 6-pack or 12-pack of radio streams, tuning in and discovering music that's played non-stop. 25 hours a day, 8 days a week, 366 days a year. Yes, you heard that right. rBeatz is committed to making sure your music, your voice is heard around the clock. Their mission? To provide a platform where all musical and artistic talent can shine. They keep it simple, KISS, or keep it simple sweet, with an open book policy that welcomes all creators. And the vision? It's all about inclusivity. rBeatz welcomes the most discerning listeners as well as the non-discerning ones, making it a hub for music discovery and media enthusiasts everywhere. As a member of ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, Sound Exchange, and Popology, rBeatz stands as a proud advocate and supporter of artists and musicians. By tuning into rBeatz, you're not just listening to music, you're supporting an entire community of independent musicians and artists from all over the world. So what are you waiting for? Whether you're here to listen, read, watch, or support, rBeatz is your gateway to the future of music. Join the rBeatz radio revolution. Let's make the world listen. The future of music is now, and it's waiting for you. Remember, less is always more with rBeatz. Tune in, turn up the volume, and let's change the way we experience music together.
Welcome back to this week's segment of What's Trending Now on rBeatz Radio Media and Streaming Network. Take it away, Greasy! Thank y'all so much for tuning in. And now let's get started on our upcoming local, national, and international concerts. Starting off with DJ duo Arm & Hammer, who will be performing at Black Box Theater in Charlotte on Friday, September 26th. Doors open at 10 p.m. You can get your tickets at blackboxcharlotte.com. Greasy, you know who's doing it right now.
I got to shout out Charleston duo Shovels and Rope. They are absolutely killing it right now.
Don't I know it? Tosco Music is hosting its annual open mic night on Tuesday, October 7th, taking place at the Evening Muse. Doors open at 7 p.m. You can get your tickets at toscomusic.com. Greasy, you ever been to Tosco Music?
You know, I had the pleasure of being the house keyboard player for Tosco Music Parties for about 10 years, so I love John and all the crew there at Tosco Music Parties. Let's go.
Let's go. This is Annalise Pearl and Greasy Keys bring you all the new details on the latest trending water cooler conversations. Stay on top of the rBeatz app at rBeatz.com, always bringing you the best independent, national, and international music artists. Constant influences are on the rBeatz app. You all know the drill. Now let's get started with this week's DJ World Beats top trending songs. Spinning now on 25.8 366 our global pop stream, DJ World Beats brings you City Punk by Home. We have Stereo by Jax Jones featuring Emmy.
Miami by Tommy Richmond. Burn It Down by Boy Harsha.
Beat It Up Chanel by Slater.
Thank you, Annalise. Now we have the amazing Justin Bieber bringing you his smash hit, Yukon.
And we have Upside Down by Pink Pop. Trending now on rBeatz Radio.
Now we have the lovely Ina and Mo Black with the hit Moyana, along with Wild Ride, a Rios remix by the amazing Kashmir.
Can't Love Me by Ivy and A Little Sound. We have Loosen Up by Hugo, Dante, and Preston Harris. And then closing out on USA Heroes, our classic rock and country station, we have Gucci Mane by Jesse Murph. We have Lonely Avenue by John Baltiste featuring Randy Newman. And
I Put a Spell on You by Evie Kaplan.
And we got Country Out of Me by Sierra the Rapper. That concludes this week's countdown. Be sure to check out our social media sensation show, What's Trending Now. And be sure to check out Greasy Keys' new show, The Watch List, right here on rBeatz.com. That's it for now. Take it away, Greasy. Thank y'all for watching.
Hey there. Like what you see? Want more? Then listen up, like, love, and subscribe. Just do it. Sharing is caring. For more, check out what's next on rBeatz.com.
Miss me? Welcome back. Here in the studio again, and I've got as my guest today, Morgan James. This artist has YouTube videos. If you like shorts, there's a great moment where she jumps on stage with Chaka Khan last minute. That's pretty incredible. They should have retired that stage for life, the power that came from YouTube. You recently came to the city of Charlotte, North Carolina, which is our base city here. One of our new institutions, which is Middle C Jazz, which is the brainchild of Larry Farber, who's an absolute treasure to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I definitely want to shout him out. And, you know, how was that experience? Let's give him some behind the scenes.
Oh my God, we loved playing at Middle C. We did 2 shows actually on the day that my new album came out. And they were so amazing to us. First of all, the first set was sold out, second set was almost sold out. And I haven't played in Charlotte in 9 years. So
wow.
To have a crowd come out like that was so amazing. And the whole club is beautiful. If you haven't been there, you have to check it out. It's a great place to hear music.
Great food, great entertainment. The stage is beautiful. It's a great place in the heart of Charlotte. It's a throwback to how things used to be. You know, when you go in there, you're just like transported to, Cotton Club days all the way back, to these great places, whether it's Chicago or New York or, DC or even some of the ones on the West Coast. It just makes me feel like that every time I go in. I hate that I miss
absolutely.
that show.
Well, hopefully we'll be back. Larry said that we're definitely going to be coming back because he's such a great supporter of mine, and I'm so thankful for that. So we'll definitely be back at Middle C in the new year.
Well, you were talking about your brand new album, your project dropped as you were here. And
yes,
phenomenal project. Also, a fan-funded project. So let's run through a little, a few behind-the-scenes things here with that as well. I love this project, and I want to get into it. But I want to talk about first, a lot of artists are trying to fan fund. You have a phenomenal project that you've released with incredible musicianship from this. What was your process? Was it like an email list, or how do you keep track of the data of your fans?
Well, first of all, my fans are the best, most loyal, most supportive, incredible group of fans, and I can't do anything that I do without them. And I've funded the last 4 records I've made. We're 100% fan funded. So, it's a combination of, sometimes I do an Indiegogo or a Kickstarter. I've done that twice throughout my, creating of albums. But most of the time I do a pre-order. I do a pre-order, and my fans show up and they buy things. And sometimes I get private donations from different fans that can give a little more. I have a group of people that really believe in what I do, and you have to have a group of fans that wants to go with you on the journey, and
Right.
I make a record every single year, so I have to really listen to what they like and what they want. I really rely on their feedback, what kind of merch I should make, and whether they like the videos and what kind of music, that the direction I'm going in has to suit the demand and the people that are listening. And thankfully I have a group of people who really believe in what I do. And so I'm 100% fan funded for the last 4 records.
Yeah, this is such an important note for up-and-coming artists. That's why I wanted to go, on behind the scenes on this, is because you have to identify who your person is that's following your music. And a lot of artists, they tell me, my music is for everybody, but it's not. Music is subjective, or they're trying to reach the world, and it's never about that. It's about trying to reach your tribe and build your tribe. And you obviously have a great tribe, and you're doing the right things with this because you're focusing on them. You're making them feel important because they are important to you. I have a lot of respect for that. So what was the team like behind this album? First of all, who was your producer?
So this album is called Soul Remains the Same, and my husband Doug Womble and I produced this album. We've been working on it for almost a year when you consider starting the germ of the idea, starting the arrangements, picking the songs. We started recording in February. We have an incredible group of musicians. Julius Rodriguez is on the keys. Doug Womble plays guitar and bass. We have a 4-horn section. I did all the vocals and the background vocals. We had 3 different all-star incredible drummers play on the record. And I like to describe this record as if Aretha Franklin went into the studio with AC/DC. So it's a soul record, it's an R&B record, but it has all of these incredible, iconic songs from the 80s and 90s. Yeah,
you cover Smashing Pumpkins, Ozzy Osbourne, Stone Temple Pilots, Whitesnake. It's like AC/DC, like you said, is quite the range there. And I did not know that Doug played the bass and guitar. I just thought it was guitar, but the bass is phenomenal on that as well. So I guess he masters both. It gives it such thump. Like the what is the song? It has like I could picture James Brown dancing to it. Flying High Again.
Flying High Again, yes.
Yeah, when with the way that comes in, it's a little bit, the thump bass, a little bit thunderous.
Yep,
but
exactly.
I picture James Brown dancing to that song.
Yeah, that's exactly what we wanted it to sound like. We wanted it to be like James Brown and Ozzy, having a party up in heaven.
Yeah, and speaking of Ozzy, of course, he recently passed, but this is one of the most valuable things to me on a project like this, besides the artist. It has like a secondary thing that happens, which is a lot of times in rock, it's beat driven, and it's very heavy, with a lot of these artists. And people are going and they're just, losing their mind in concert because they're such great concerts. They set things on fire, very theatrical, very Broadway, But when you realize the lyrics that those people wrote, like Ozzy, you go back through his stuff, like Crazy Train, he had the answers to how we could all get along just in the opening of Crazy Train. And this guy wrote this. And the same thing with this song. You start to notice, because of the way you've recorded them, you really get to know the lyrics and understand, how phenomenal these are. Like for me, it was Plush. Because you take a tortured soul like Scott Weiland, and I think he wrote that song, maybe I read one time where it was about a young lady, I think she had passed away in a bathtub or something like that. But the words to that, while they're so dark, they're so poetic and so well put. And when you record this the way you record it, it puts such a focus on that because this is vocally driven. The other instruments are there, but it's not, heavy guitar driven. It's vocally driven, and you're paying so much attention to those lyrics. It opens it up a lot different.
I think that when people listen to this album, they're going to hear some of these lyrics and melodies in a way that they've never heard them before. And I think that when you take away the heavy production from the 80s and 90s and you put it in a different context, it gives it a completely different world and a different feel.
Right.
And a few of the songs, in a woman's perspective, I think make them extremely moving to me, like Better Man or Tonight Tonight.
Yeah.
And that was one of my goals is that these songs are already great. I don't have to change any of them. But all I wanted to do was to bring the music, the melody and the lyrics even more to the forefront and show how really beautiful they are.
And, of course, you do that with everything you do. I want to ask you that. Is it just the fact of you listen to so many artists, or is it your acting ability? But, of course, you physically, from a visible standpoint on videos, you bring everything to life. But your voice does it as well. There's so much acting and emoting in your voice. Where does that come from?
Thank you for saying that. That is so sweet. I think that when someone is a great interpreter of music, it's part technique, it's part years listening and years practicing. I've put in my 10,000 hours. You have to fill your ears and listen to good ingredients. You are what you eat. So if you listen to great artists and really, really do your research, hopefully you'll become a part of that lineage. And then there's another thing that's intangible. I don't know why people connect with me. I'm glad that they do, but I think that me constantly staying true to myself and authentic is a part of what draws people in, and maintaining that connection to great music is the biggest part of my job.
Yeah, and that was something I read in your bio where you said something like, we need real music, especially today. There's, of course, everybody knows that the talk about AI or the simplicity of putting things out there and everything's on a loop, and it's so much music put out that way. But to have something that's so real, and of course, he's not on with us today, but I gotta give just such a great shout out to your husband for this guitar work, that the intros and how they happened, that, and of course the two of you producing. We talk about you being a producer at the beginning, but you're a real producer. I've been credited as a producer, but it's because I have a Grammy-winning producer sitting beside me, when I'm doing something. It's a lot different. I'll make suggestions. He knows all the stuff. But you, and of course, your husband, what you're doing with this. And so your intros are so unique, and there's so much depth to the musicianship on this album because you're leaders.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And the longer you do something, it's truly, the more time you put into something, it just becomes, it's really like a great sauce, right? It's just cooking, or a great soup for hours and hours and hours, the depth of flavor. That's what you hope when you've been playing music this long, that when you put out an album or you do a live show, that it will have that depth of flavor. And I think that the performer life is not an easy one. It's not glamorous as everybody thinks it is on the outside. It's a lot of hard work, and the reward is if people feel what we're trying to create. Right. It's like that's the goal.
Yeah, there's like so many hours a week just so things could be magical for an hour and a half. When you actually get on stage. It's like
you spend all these hours to make it look like you didn't practice,
Right. Yeah.
You want it to look off the cuff and easy, and you want to make people feel at ease, because when people come to a show or they put on a record, we need joy, we need distraction, we need something that's comforting, and we want people to go on a journey. We don't want them to feel like we haven't put in the work. We want them to feel at ease, you know what I mean? So that's what I always say before every show to the band.
Yeah, and you know, you never know what they walk in. They've had a fight with their spouse before they came in, or they're going through anxiety, or they're going through depression, or dealing with a job, and it's such an escape to be able to come in and sit down in an environment where there are masters like you that show up for their fans and take, you know, transport them out of that. We definitely need more artists like you in the world. And when I was hearing this project, I was like, hope she has this on vinyl. So I want to tell people, you need to go to Morgan James. Of course, you can find stuff streaming online, and that's all great. You know, it helps her with her numbers and that kind of thing. It makes everything look good. But this is a project worth going to morganjamesonline.com and getting. She has this package where she has the signed vinyl, the signed CD, and a really cool T-shirt. When you have an artist like this, these are the artists you need to keepsake and to take home and come support them when they're in your area. She has her tour dates listed there. Just incredible stuff going on right now. And I've already seen 3 great videos for this project. Do you have more being released?
You know, we made 4 black and white videos that kind of all go together for this project. So we rolled out 4. We did Plush, Thunderstruck, Is This Love, and Tonight Tonight. So you can go to my YouTube channel is where most people find me, and all my videos are there. So I love people, you know, finding me there. I answer all my comments and respond to everyone personally on Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, Instagram. That's really me. And so if you send me a message, I'll really try to get back to you. And I appreciate listeners so much.
Well, thank you so much. And I know your schedule is super packed right now because I've seen your tour dates, and I know you
yes,
you had to get up early this morning after, you know, doing these shows in New York. So I so appreciate it. But you are an artist who truly deserves the word powerhouse in their video. So we officially say you own it.
Yeah, 316. Got game and pulled out his own Atari. I said sorry, I'ma have to pass like Nash to Amari. Tiger up early on a Sunday, sinking birdies while the pigskin spinning through the air, tight and birdie. It's a TD, it's a TKO, a home run, it's a hat trick. Ain't no way to be an all-star without practice. So if you down to sacrifice your life for a draft pick, it's a pretty sweet position you can live in if you have some things in the air. If you got game, wave like you just don't care. If you got game, playing like you got